This is the Talkshow with Vic. I'm your host, Vic, obviously, Mr. Never Chillin, and I have a great guest this week, my cousin Steven.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, man, for sure. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to those who may not know who you are.
Yeah, I'm Vic's cousin, Chillin Vic Brubacher. I'm second. He's having me on it today. We're going to talk a little bit about my fire service career and how I got to where I'm at today.
No, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. What do you do for a living? Obviously.
I'm a career fireman in Maryland. I've been on the job for about a year now. Most of my time in the fire service, I've been a volunteer. I've been a volunteer for almost 14 years now.
Has it been that long already?
Yep, 14.
Sheesh, we getting old. We definitely getting old. Any fun facts, interesting things about yourself?
Yeah, so actually being on this podcast here right now takes me out of my comfort zone. But one of my favorite things to say is to grow as an individual, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So when you ask me, I figured, hell yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
exactly, no doubt. That's awesome. Let's get into the reason why we're here today, though. We're first going to start out talking about your journey of becoming a firefighter. I've personally known you, obviously, all my life, and I was at the beginning stages of the junior days of firefighting and stuff. But if you don't mind, if you can describe like how your journey went, like from the junior days the whole way up to your career that you're in now.
So for all the viewers and listeners, just to elaborate on what a junior day is. So juniors are from the ages of 14 to 18 years old, and it's while you're still in school. It's a way to get younger kids involved in the fire service. But yeah, so like you said, I started off at the age of 14, but I would say honestly my journey started well before that. I'd venture to say my journey started at birth. Like you, it's ran in our family for forever. I know me personally, I'm not sure about on your side, but I'm a fifth generation firefighter, and just growing up, I remember always being around the firehouse with my father, and once I could become a junior fireman, that's all I could think about doing. And when I did it, one of the things that kept me around was it's something I did get to share with my father, and it was something that brought us closer. It was something that we were both very passionate about. But I mean, it runs deep in our family. We have aunts, uncles, cousins, our fathers, their fathers.
Right. Feels like there's a lot of firefighters in our family.
Yeah, 5 generations. That's a long time.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. But what was the next step after becoming a junior firefighter? Like, what was after when you became 18?
So when you become 18, you are allowed to take classes that allow you to actually become an interior firefighter, which means you can actually go in and fight fire. So between the ages of 14 and 18, you can help out on the fire ground. You can be a gopher. You can help, the senior guys. You get to watch from outside. Wish you could do that, but you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
But so that's what I did up to 18, and then once I became 18, I got the classes that I needed to take, and that's when it became a little bit more to me than just a cool hangout.
Right.
It became more than I get to go do some badass shit. It became more than that. Actually seeing the difference that you can make in people's lives on a daily basis. But I honestly, I'd say I was hooked from the start.
Right.
Walking into the firehouse, even at 14 years old, and you smell it. A firehouse just has a distinct smell. The diesel fumes, the smoke on the gear after a fire. The firehouse shenanigans.
Right. Yeah, it's always been a lot of fun. I mean, like you said, we kind of grew up with it, and we used to be at the firehouse from as long as we can remember. I mean, just going in and out of the firehouse and just hanging out with the guys too, and growing up and just I don't know. It was a really cool experience, and being able to even help out like during the convention back in like 2004. Fuck, we were like 12 or something or 10. It's like we started helping out at even before we were actually a junior.
Yeah, able to. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but moving on in the progression of things, it took me quite a few years to get on the job. As a career fireman, it's a very selective process. But one of my main reasons is it didn't have so much to do with I had a problem with just being a volunteer. It had more to do with I wanted to be good at at the fire service.
right.
And being a volunteer, there is a lot of time restraints. You can't do everything you need to do to be a good fireman all the time.
Right.
Working your 9 to 5 job, working overtime. So when I made the decision to go career, it was so that would be my job. That would be my only concentration. It would be to be a good fireman.
Right, right. It's definitely not about the money. It was more of like wanting to be better and be passionate about it too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how was your journey of becoming like a paid firefighter? I know it almost seems like boot camp. It sounded like.
Yeah, but I mean, even before that, most processes they start off with a civil service test. I mean, a lot of government jobs do.
Right, right.
So you take a civil service test, you're placed on a list, and then from there, you're ranked, and then you go in for an oral interview, and then that is also scored, and you're ranked from there. It's normally a 5-step process. Some places, I know Virginia, they send their candidates for polygraphs and psych evals as a part, and after each step, the list gets smaller and smaller until they have their 60 to 70 people that they want to send through on a class. You have to pass a physical test, a medical physical test on top of that. I mean, and even that in itself is hard. So the process is about a 2-year process for one department. I tested all up and down the East Coast until I finally got a call. And like I said, I've only been on the job for a year now. So it took me probably 8 years of testing.
Jeez. That's a long time.
Just like I said about this podcast, I'm not a very good interviewer either. Why do you want to be a fireman? Because I like to do badass shit. That just doesn't cut it.
Right, that's too blunt and too easy of an answer. Yeah, for sure. But now that you are a paid firefighter, how has it been comparably to like being a volunteer? Like how different is it?
There's no differences, but there's similarities. The fire service is the fire service.
Right.
Being professional is being professional, whether you're a career fireman or you're a volunteer. And somebody dials 911, they expect you to show up and fix their issue. The fires don't burn differently in a house because there's a paid fire department down the street. So
right.
Volunteers and career members should be held to the same standard. It doesn't always work that way because, like I was saying earlier, people that volunteer do have other lives outside of the fire service. I have a separate life outside of the fire service. Right. But my job is to be good at it.
Right.
They have their 9 to 5 jobs. They have their families. They have other things going on in their life that they might not be able to attend every training every month.
Right. Yeah, because there are a lot of training you got to go through to become just a regular firefighter.
Yep. Yeah, just for volunteers, I think in the state of Pennsylvania, it's up over 300 hours.
Damn.
And that's broken into several different classes over several months.
Right. Do they still have the mod system in place?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a series of 4 classes, from an introductory to going in and actually fighting the fires.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. And plus, there's other like more concentrated classes too, like whether it's like hazmat or like river rescue or whatever. Like there's different scenarios and stuff like that. So you gotta be a well-rounded.
Yeah, and even if you took every training, known to man, which is almost impossible to do as it is, training never stops. You can never stop honing in your skills. You can never stop training for a job that can literally kill you. Like this job can and will kill you if you don't do things right. You know?
Right.
Fortunately, in this area, we haven't had many line of duty deaths, but it's not an if, it's a when.
Right, right, yeah, because it could happen at any given moment.
It can happen to, the most seasoned veteran, to, the brand new rookie who just finished his classes. So
Right.
it's even after you finish taking your classes, there's in-house training, around the firehouse that you have to do. We hold multiple trainings a month.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it's cool. Like you said, you always got to work on it and keep honing in your skills, and even do some refreshers too, because like you may have forgotten something because you haven't done it in so long. It's something that you don't use as often either.
Yep, yep. And it's always the basics, You don't want to get too technical and then forget how to, put water on fire. It happens, right?
Right, right. Yeah, that's weird. If somehow you just forget how to do that part of it. Probably one of the most important parts. So like becoming a paid firefighter, do you recommend it to other people to further it from a volunteer, or do you think like is it not meant for everybody?
I don't think it's meant for everybody, but I wouldn't say it would be different between a volunteer firefighter shouldn't go and do it versus a career, because I know. And at my job, there's people that have had no volunteer experience prior,
Mm-hmm.
And then we've had people like myself that did have volunteer experience prior.
I would have thought they would have looked for that job experience.
So in a career setting, they almost look to mold you to operate how they want you to operate.
Mm-hmm.
It's under their guidelines, under their policies, how they operate. Because every place can operate differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I would never turn anybody away from a career. I think it's the best job in the world.
Well, that's good to hear. No doubt.
It's a rush every day. Every day something's different. You get to help out. You're really helping people out. When they dial 911 and you get there, there isn't a 912 for you to call. You're it.
Right. Exactly. But any last input on your journey at all that you want to share about before we move on to the next segment?
No, I mean, if people are looking into doing it, look into it and do it. It's a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of dedication. But if you're going to do it 100%. It's not something that you can half-ass because people's lives depend on you.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to risk hurting yourself or someone else on the line of duty at all. You definitely want to be the best. But yeah, that's a great story for sure. Really appreciate your service too, by the way. But let's move on to the next segment. We're going to talk about like the importance of volunteer firefighting. As you mentioned though in the last segment that you were a volunteer firefighter before becoming a paid firefighter. Tell us what the importance is of becoming a volunteer firefighter and the effects it has on the community.
So in Pennsylvania, it's a predominantly volunteer state. Your big cities are a career. Harrisburg City is a career. Allentown, Pittsburgh, Reading, Lancaster City.
Right.
But all your surrounding communities, they're all volunteer. And the importance of it is and I don't think a lot of people really sit back and think something like this, and they shouldn't have to. But, what happens if they dial 911 and there's nobody that shows up?
Yeah.
It's a possibility because volunteerism is down. You just don't see people out volunteering, and not just in the fire service, but just in general the way that they used to.
Right.
It's because years ago, a man or a woman could go out and work a full-time job, and one could stay at home and care for the family. But that's not the way it is now. Both men and women have to go out and they have to work, and babysitters, and it's just you don't have time to do it these days. I think we're down, probably 70% of what we were back in the 1970s, numbers wise.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the number of volunteers that you have.
Right. I think that it might be down due to, like you said, everyone's getting busy, but it also comes down to, unfortunately, greed. Like, a lot of people have that mindset of, why am I going to do this for free? Like, I could be going to do something to get paid. Like, I want to get paid. But it's not as easy to become a paid firefighter as it is a volunteer. Like, you just put an application in, you get voted in, and all right, cool, now go take your classes.
Yep. And it takes a different person to do it too. I think greed does have stuff to do with it, but I think a lot of it is it comes down to the money aspect, and that's me personally, because I've seen a bunch of people come into the fire service. Like, recruiting hasn't always been our issue in the fire service. You know, we can get people to come in and do it. It's the retaining people.
Yeah.
You know, keeping them there during those couple of months that it takes them to get their classes. You know, and then all of the things that we require of them after they get their classes, the continued training, the meetings, the fundraisers. You know, we ask a lot of our membership, and unfortunately, it takes a lot of time. Being a volunteer could easily become a full-time free job. You know,
right.
And people just don't have time for that, especially people with families, with younger families, and all that.
No, yeah, for sure.
Another thing is that I think has affected the fire service, and predominantly the volunteer service is tradespeople. Everybody nowadays, it's college. You know, you need that degree, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And you know, I know when I was getting ready to graduate from high school, you know, one of my requirements was I needed to apply to 3 colleges. you know, I was like, okay, so I applied to 3 colleges. But the fire service, back in the day, if you looked at it, you know, you had plumbers that went and joined the fire service, electricians, you know, all these different type of tradespeople out there, and those are the type of people that came into the fire service. You know, the hands-on people, the people that wanted to get out there and help. And unfortunately, it also looks like there's a decline in tradespeople in society nowadays.
Right, and that's due to the such a heavily push for college, like you said. Like, they drill it into your head from kindergarten till you graduate. College, and you don't need college to do everything. Like, college these days, I think, is more of a scam than anything else. Like, yeah, you can learn and stuff, but.
And I'm not saying college is a bad thing. College is for people. You know, there's bright, brilliant people out there. You know, and they should further their education that way.
Right.
And, you know, there's people out there that want to work with their hands. You know, woodwork. You know, there's just things like that.
Right. It's just, I feel like they advertise college more than anything else. Like you said, like those trade skills are more important than anything else that you could probably go to college for, because it's the foundation of society. And if that's down, that's not good, because like we still need those people.
And I do think that there has been a swing in it. You know, within recent years, I'm talking. You know, before, if you ever sit down and actually watch TV, and you know, watch the infomercials and the commercials in between, it was always college. You know, come to Penn State, come to Clemson, come to this, come to that. But now you start to see more on trades. You know, like advertisement wise. So
right.
I think trade school is coming back into view.
No, yeah, it's definitely important. And I think going back to the firefighting though, I think like if they started advertising firefighting a little bit more, because to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen an advertisement on TV about volunteer firefighting or even paid firefighting in general. Like, of course you see the commercials of like burning buildings and stuff like that, but it has nothing to do with the firefighting part of it. And I think that'll be a very important part for it as well. But another question for you, though, is how do people become a volunteer?
It's simple. If you want to become a volunteer, you know, most communities have their own fire service. Just find a firehouse. A lot of social media. A lot of fire departments are on social media now. They'll have a number on there. You can call them. You can ask them what their specific procedures are.
Right.
And you know, it could be as simple as just drive down to the fire hall and pick up an application.
Right. How what does that process usually look like on? I know it's probably different everywhere, but what does the usual process look like of becoming a volunteer?
So, for where I volunteer, I know it's, you know, you stop in we still use paper. We're old school for some reason. Tried to change it a little bit, but seemed to be a little bit of pushback on that. It's a 2-page paper. You stop into the fire department. I'll give it to you. You need a sponsoring member to sign it. So normally whoever hands the application out will sponsor you. It's very basic information. You turn that back in with a small fee. Ours is $20, but that's mostly for a background check.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that's turned in, it gets turned over to the company at our annual meeting. Just your name will be read, the sponsoring member, and then it'll be turned over to we have an investigating committee. And then the investigating committee will reach out to you and set up a time and date for an interview. You come in, we'll just ask you simple questions like, hey, why do you want to become a volunteer? We'll give you like a little bit of rundown of like some of our fundraisers. Like we do chicken barbecues every year to raise funds.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to help out with that? What type of membership status do you want to have? And I know later on in the show we'll get into that. Do you want to be a social or active member? Are you willing to take these classes? This is how long these classes are going to take. We'll paint them a little picture during this interview, and if they're still interested, and if we find them favorable, their background checks come back clean, we turn that at another company meeting over to them for the company to vote on.
Mm-hmm.
Once they're voted in, they'll come see one of the chief officers, and we'll get them signed up for the classes, and then that's all she wrote.
Right.
Hopefully we keep you around for a little bit.
Right, yeah, don't bail out. You're like, oh man, this is overwhelming. No, that's pretty cool. I remember volunteering. Then you gotta, like, once you're a member and stuff, you gotta pay yearly dues and stuff, I believe, still.
Yes, so I'm actually, our department, I believe, is in the works of getting rid of that. Just because some places do, some places don't, and that's different everywhere. We still do. And that's more or less for like it's from it's like a 1970s rule, 1985 rule. You get to pay to come in and watch the TV, or you get to pay to come in and watch it. It's a privilege. So being at the firehouse, they took it as a privilege, where I take it as it's my privilege that you're coming here to volunteer your time. So we're looking to get rid of that.
Right.
Currently.
No, yeah, I think that would make sense too, to kind of get rid of it, because like you're already volunteering your time to be there. Like you're not getting any incentive to do that. My incentive should be I should be able to watch TV there, if anything, or whatever it is, hang out with you guys, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, so that would make sense.
For the viewers, we're not talking like you're not paying me $100 a year or anything like that. It's a $5 a year.
Oh, it went down.
Due that they paid, but yeah. So I mean, it's not going to make or break the bank in the grand scheme of things.
Oh no, yeah, one way or another. But
yeah.
What would that money? We're going to get into it a little bit in a second, but like on the topic of dues, like what would that money go towards, like for the company?
Any of the departmental needs, if you're talking $5, we don't have hundreds of members, so dues a year might be $150.
Right.
So that might go to pay for half of a cable bill for 1 month.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
So,
no, yeah.
so
Yeah. Do you have any firefighting memories that you want to talk about at all?
I think maybe you too. Just like back to our junior days, and I still do it to newer guys coming in. Stirring the tank water on the fire apparatus. It's not a thing, but you get the new guy up there with a broomstick and starts to stir the water. It's not a thing to do. Or
right.
It's all the greatest stories for me is honestly being around the people there, because they're the ones that make it worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting out front on summer nights, telling war stories, mainly lies. Each other, see how far we can, the biggest fire was, and it was a little trash man fire in a room somewhere. Right,
and they try to exaggerate and make it seem worse than what it was.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I was at that same fire, and that didn't go like that.
Right. Right.
That's what makes it fun for me.
Right, right. What was one of the craziest fires or calls that you've had to respond to?
There's been a bunch of them. Off the top of my head, probably for me personally, one of the most eye-opening was one that we had in town, and the fire just didn't go as planned, like from the start. It didn't look like much when we got there. It ended up being a basement fire. We weren't able to make the basement, and they started to evac us as we were getting ready to bail out anyway, just because we were making no headway, burning ears, shoulders, knees,
Right.
Made it out, and once we made it out, the back of the building where we were at from the third floor ended up collapsing into the basement.
Oh, damn.
So
that
was real eye-opening for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that I was with, that was probably the closest call I've been on, to being something like that. But I mean, there's been plenty. When you become a volunteer, this is kind of backtracking a little bit. You're going to see and you're going to do a lot of things that just the normal person doesn't see.
Right.
So that's something that you need to take into consideration as well. And unfortunately, firemen, it's a manly's man job. Women can do it too. There's some women that will run circles around me. So it's not just a man's job. Women can do it too.
Right. Right.
But the bravado, people don't like to talk about it. And I'm one of those people. I don't really talk about the stuff that we've been through or stuff like that. But I'm a strong component and believer in peer support, because it's hard for me to sit here and talk to people that have no idea or never seen any of it. So.
Right. Yeah, because there's times that being a firefighter, you end up seeing somebody die or someone die in your hands or some gruesome injuries and stuff like that too. If you're showing up to like a car accident and stuff like that, sometimes that can haunt you too. I mean, I talk a lot about mental health in a lot of my gaming podcast episodes too, and that's important because mental health. A lot of people who may experience that kind of stuff could be going through it. Then they might now develop PTSD or something like that. Do you deal with any of that at all, personally, or know anybody?
I do know people that do. I don't think I'm to the point of PTSD yet. I'm haunted by some things. I still see some things that I wish I didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
Or But I mean, I try not to dwell on it.
Right.
God's given me the gift in these hands to do what I do, and it's all for that one time I can make a difference. I wasn't on the call, but a couple weeks ago, some of the guys, they were able to bring somebody back from a cardiac arrest, which is, their heart stopped working, they stopped breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go on 100 calls and not save anybody, and then that 101st call that you go on, you get to bring them back. That makes it worth it.
Right. No doubt. Yeah. I mean, personally, I've never had to experience any of that kind of stuff, but I know, even with my dad telling the story with Ryan Mine and stuff, that was pretty crazy. He showing up to the call and he realized who it was, and they rescued the other guys in the car, I think JD and Tom, but he was able to get Ryan Mine out of the vehicle, but unfortunately he died 7 days later or something like that. And it's just I guess my dad gave him that time because he probably could have died right then and there in the vehicle and stuff like that. So it's crazy. You
gotta look at things. You have to try to keep a positive mentality about it, because if not, it really will eat you.
Right.
It will eat you.
Yeah, because some people might take it damn man, I fucked up. I could have saved him, but I didn't. Or although woulda, coulda, shoulda. But you can't think like that. You gotta be able to move past it and take it and use it for future references and stuff like that too. If anything, if you're gonna dwell on it, use it to make yourself better. You can reevaluate how you approach the scene or the whatever it was, and see what you could have done different, and then implement that for the next time.
Yeah, like I said, it all goes back to the training. Everything, the service is constantly evolving. Even down to how buildings are built, you know.
Right.
So if you're out and you see something on one of them type of calls, like you're saying, you know, make that tactical change in your toolbox for the next time.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. It's important to evolve with life, because like you said, everything can change, from buildings to how cars are made, or because like cars back in the day were more metal, now everything's like more plastic, carbon fiber. So I mean, even cutting that might be a little bit different, even though the tools are going to cut through it regardless. But you might have to cut at certain points or anchor points or whatever. I've been out of this fire service for so long, I don't really remember much of it, but stuff like that can play a point.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, you're pretty much on point. Yeah, you know, a lot of times now is especially in higher end vehicles, you get the higher grade steel, but vehicle accidents now look a lot worse than what they are, but it's because the vehicles are designed to crumple the way that they do,
Right.
So that there's not as much intrusion into the passenger compartments.
Right. Yeah, the outside just falls apart, but as long as the structure of the interior kind of stays together, so it doesn't kill the person. Yeah. Ideally. So.
One of the things, just going back on it, and I knock on wood and pray to God that the day doesn't come, but I haven't responded to an emergency yet. You know, I'm a big component of if and when.
Right.
When, not if.
Right, because it'll probably happen.
Yeah, I haven't responded on people that I've been close with or that I've known personally. I mean, I have a few times, but never in the capacity like your father has, where there's been a loss of life.
Right.
But that is something that you do think about. Just going back to the PTSD thing, and like I said, I don't personally believe I have it. You know, but you know that is something that, you know, you're sitting at the firehouse and a call comes in for, you know, a known address of like a family member or somewhere where somebody should be, you know, and then that gets your heart pumping. You know, you think your adrenaline was going before, you know, try that.
Right. Yeah, even when I would come and check out some of the calls in town or something like that, and I know generally where it's at, I'm like, man, I hope it's not this person, or I hope it's not that person. Like, I remember that when it was the big red church that caught on fire on Swadair Street, I knew it was like in the general area of where JC's grandma was, and I was like, damn, I hope it's not her, because it was right across the street, and I was like, damn. But one memory though that I want to talk about that I have from the early days of juniors was going through the fire station in like full gear, and we had like a Nomex hood over our eyes, and we couldn't see, and we had to like feel our way around the entire building and stuff. I was like, man, this is crazy, because like that gave you like a basic general sense of how it'll look in a real fire, because like with the smoke and stuff, you can barely see this far in front of you. And I was just like, this is crazy and scary as hell, because you got to go through a building like this and you don't know what's in front of you. Yeah, that'll definitely get your adrenaline going.
Yeah, then you add the heat on top of it. You know, heat pushes you down to the ground.
Right.
You have people screaming. You know, not like civilians inside screaming. Sometimes you get some firemen and women that just start yelling. It's like, it's not going anywhere. It's on fire. We all know. We're all right here, right next to you.
Right.
But you add all that, and you add a little bit of confusion in, your adrenaline's going. It's a different feeling. Yeah,
no doubt.
I personally, I love going to fires. You know, that's what I believe I was made to do.
Mm-hmm.
People always, why do you wish that? It's not that I wish it. I don't wish it at all.
Right.
You know, the greatest comparison that I can say is if you have a life or death surgery or operation that you need done, do you want the surgeon that doesn't like to do operations,
right,
has zero experience doing that surgery,
right,
or do you want the guy that likes doing them, that has done a lot of them?
Right.
You know, that's the best comparison. You know, if you don't like being a fireman, then I probably don't want you to come put my house out.
Right. If you're going to be like, oh, we got another call, like, no, I don't want somebody who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. So no, I absolutely do not wish death or destruction on anybody.
Right.
Either. You know, that's the skill that I have.
Exactly, and you enjoy doing it. It's part of it. It's definitely part of the job. Like, if you don't enjoy doing it, don't even do it. especially this job. Like there's some jobs like what I do, I don't really enjoy doing it, but I do it anyway. Have to do it. Versus like firefighting is one of those jobs like it's either you like and enjoy doing it or just don't do it at all, or find a different way of helping out, which is what we're going to move into here in a second. Do you have any last any advice to give to people at all who want to become a firefighter?
I keep going back to, if you want to do it, just talk to somebody, call somebody. But I keep going back to, you got to make sure that it's something that you actually want to do. Don't do it for the T-shirt and for the pat on the back, because a lot of times it can be thankless.
Right.
If you're just doing it so that you can walk around and say, "Hey, look, I'm a firefighter," probably not for you. And people that are firefighters and men and women that do it and that are actually passionate about it, they'll be able to tell who you are, and you're probably going to get called out.
No, yeah, that's great. That's great. Our volunteer is definitely important to the society. So let's move on to our next segment now, where we dive into like how you can support your local volunteer fire department. Given that most firefighters in the world are volunteer, what would you say that percentage is? Like up 80-90% of firefighters are volunteer, or you think that number is different now?
I think it's probably different now, just because volunteerism's down.
Right, right.
I honestly, you couldn't quote me on any numbers. I wanted to get a chance to look up some of that, but it's been a busy last couple of days between work and volunteering. But I don't have any specific numbers, but I know volunteering's down.
Right.
I can tell you for certainty that there's probably not a volunteer fire department in the United States that isn't hurting for membership. It doesn't matter if you're in California or, Maine,
right.
Georgia. If there's a volunteer fire department, I can guarantee they need help.
No, yeah, for sure. But how do companies operate if there's like no profit? Like they don't make money, they don't get paid to do this. Like where do they get money to be able to operate and take care of the machine and the equipment and stuff like that?
So a lot of places are different. Mostly volunteer fire departments are non-profit organizations, like you just said. In the state of Pennsylvania, you have to hold a 501c3 license, and that just allows you to be a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it is fundraising. It's your chicken barbecues, your soup and sub sales.
The Christmas trees.
Christmas sales, yeah. I mean, recently, a lot of fire departments have been doing online raffles.
Oh, okay.
They seem to be like a really hot topic recently.
Mm-hmm.
But that all proceeds go into the daily operations of a fire department. And that's another thing that I think the general citizens don't understand is how much it really takes. I know from where I'm from, we're very fortunate for our council and our town. They help us with a budget every year. It's not the hugest budget. It doesn't pay for everything that we need. It pays for our workers' comp insurances. It pays for the fuel that goes into the vehicles. It pays for the maintenance on the vehicles, and it keeps our lights on in the firehouse.
Right.
They have helped and have purchased apparatus for us, but a lot of the equipment that you see on it is purchased by the volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff is very expensive. Just to outfit a firefighter, with their gear is probably $3,000 to $5,000 a person.
Damn.
So, and if you really do the math, we hold 3 chicken barbecues a year. Our tickets go for $10, and we have 100 chicken dinners. That doesn't. 3 of our chicken barbecues don't even pay for the gear that.
For one person.
Yeah, one person would wear. And a lot of misconception, at least where I'm at, some places do have a fire tax. Our department, we don't, or our town, we don't have a necessary fire tax.
Right.
But a lot of it comes down to, we send out fund letters for funding and stuff like that. But most of the stuff that we have now, and we're very fortunate with where we're located, there's grant opportunities. Grant opportunities are all over the place.
Right.
So a lot of it comes from grants. But, sometimes you just got to do without. do more with less.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Speaking of grants, I remember back when like my dad was big into it, and in Stilton, um, like when they got the grant or whatever to get the truck, the tower, that was pretty cool. They had like the whole ceremony and stuff. Tim Holden, or I think his name was. I forget who it was. Yeah, but they presented like that big old check and stuff like that. Had the news there. It was pretty cool because like it's cool to be able to get a grant and help from the state or whoever it is that are allowing us to get the money to upgrade trucks and stuff like that. Because before we got that truck, we had that. Well, what year? What year do you think the Mac was? The truck was that a 70?
It was 70 something.
Yeah, and we got that truck, the new one, in what, 07?
06.
06, yeah. I knew it was something like that. And it's crazy. Like, you eventually do got to upgrade. Like, sometimes something gets outdated and needs more capacity, like storage space and stuff like that. So, yeah. But if people don't want to necessarily join the company, how else can they support their local company?
Well, going back a little bit, I know running into burning buildings isn't for everybody.
Right.
There's other things that a lot of people can do. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Like there's grant writing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a grant writer. I couldn't tell you how to do that. I'll go into the burning building, but I'm not writing no grants. Maybe someday I'll take a class on how to write grants, but that's not for me. We have a lot of administrative positions. The president of the company, the secretary, the treasurer. They keep our books.
Mm-hmm.
Board of directors, they handle all personnel issues. The nonprofit itself, they govern. There's a lot to do that doesn't even involve you having to run into a burning building.
Right. So you can become a member and not necessarily be a firefighter, but be the behind the scenes person.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of events. I'm 100% for the community, by the community. The only reason that we exist is because of the community. There's people that we should have an event coordinator. People that come up with events that isn't necessarily raising.
Okay, yeah. My dad chimed in. He said yes, it was Tim Holding. But the viewers want to know when did you know you wanted to be a firefighter?
Birth.
Off rip, you're just born into it. You were given a fire truck as soon as you came out.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, heck, I even remember like a lot of your costumes for Halloween, firefighter.
Yeah. If it wasn't fire gear, then it was the dress uniform for firefighters.
Right. It was always something. But yeah, how else can people in the community like support the companies?
So, everything that we do is off of kind of like supply and demand. Like our chicken barbecues, we preset our number of sales before, we'll know that we're only going to order 100 chicken dinners because of pre-sales or because that's just generally what we can sell.
Right.
If we had a consistent more support, maybe we could up it to 200. So every time that you see, go out and follow them on social media. Follow your local fire department on social media because they're gonna post their fundraising. Even if it's going down and buying one dinner, if everybody goes down and buys one dinner from them,
right.
When they hold their dinners, then they're going to be able to up how much they buy the next time they hold one, and so on and so forth. When you get letters sent out to you, be cognitive, like, hey, this is going towards their gear, this is going towards their training, this is what's going to save my house if I need it someday.
Right.
This is going to them recruiting new members. Even though it's not something I want to do, they can put it towards recruitment. They can put it towards retention. They can get the tools that they need. And every dollar counts. If you can do $5, $5 is $5.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, heck, the chicken dinners you're selling them at what, like $10?
Yep.
Why can't you just go support your fire company and spend $10 for a chicken dinner? You're actually going to get a.
We're very fortunate at where we're at. We do get an outpouring of support where
right.
we're at.
Right.
But not to sound greedy or anything, but we could always use more support. The
Mm-hmm.
greatest support that we could have, honestly, is membership.
Right.
But if you can't, the monetary donations go a long way.
Right. Yeah. So even if there is not a like a fundraiser going on, you can always donate to the company as well, just for just for the heck of it. It doesn't have to be done for like helping out with the fundraisers and stuff. So I definitely recommend that for anybody who wants to help out. Definitely anything helps. Couple dollars here, couple dollars there goes a long way, because it's definitely not cheap to run a fire department for sure. But I mean, there are other fundraisers too.
Yeah, going through just an idea for viewers. We were talking about our tower truck back when it was purchased in 2006. It's an '05. It's already 16 years old. The life expectancy of one is 15. But because we're volunteer, we're not running it 100 times a day. We can get a little bit more out of it year-wise. But here in the next couple of years, we're going to need to replace it, and that's right now. If we were to replace it right now, you're looking at a $1.3 million price tag, and that's just one fire truck.
Yeah, that's a large number for sure.
Yeah, so
that'll probably be another grant.
Yeah, a lot of grants. There's no singular grant out there that's going to cover that.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, definitely need the help from the community too to help out, and then, but in the same sense, it also comes down to the members too of putting together these fundraisers as well. Like, if they're not doing their part, then obviously the community might not even know that they need help. Like, put it out there, like start advertising, like, hey, we're looking to get a new rig or something like that, and then start planning more fundraisers, whether it's sub sales or car washes, chicken dinners. Like, there are endless amounts of fundraisers that you can do. Are you still allowed to do the boot drive? Because I know that was kind of like iffy.
So boot drives, not necessarily, just because that has been copyrighted for I believe the NDA holds that. So, like, if it's a boot drive, it's going to the NDA. You can call it a fill the bucket, you can call it this or that, but even that, like, there's laws on panhandling and standing out on the street corner, you can't impede traffic. So, it makes it hard for us to do. And it's not exactly the safest thing to do either.
No, yeah.
Day, I keep up on the fire service, and it seems like every other day, either they're getting hit at accident scenes where they're in full protection. They're wearing their vest, the fire truck's lights are on, and people are still hit. How can I justify putting men out in the street to collect money?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things. I think technically, yes, there's ways that you can still do them. I don't think personally it's the safest way to do it.
Yeah, there's tons of other options to raise money for the company for sure.
Yeah, but it going back to the fundraising, it also comes down to manpower. There is burnout. Like, the volunteers that you have, you do see burnout because it's the same 5 or 6 people at all these functions. And like I said, to run a department, it's a business.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a business. You can't get that confused. Like, it's a nonprofit business, and there's a lot to do. And when you have low numbers like that, people get burned out. So it's hard to do as much as you need to do.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, any other ideas or questions or thoughts on supporting your local community or department?
Come down and check it out. The doors are always open. I wouldn't say right now.
Yeah, with COVID, yeah.
Right now with the pandemic going on. But a phone call would suffice. You can call any of your local fire departments. Will be more than willing to pick up the phone and talk to you.
Right. Whether it's how they can help or how they can join, one way or another, anything helps.
Yep.
Cool.
I mean, that's the main thing. Follow them on social media. You can find anything on social media. You can Google anything. You can Google that shit all day long, and you'll find out as much information as you need to know about it, whether it's for you or not for you. Like I said, I personally think it's the best damn job in the world. That's me.
Yeah, exactly. So, someone who was born into it.
So, I mean, I could talk all day about it. I love talking shop, but it's just something that an individual is going to have to research on their own and make a decision for them.
Right. Cool. Well, like we definitely talk, it's definitely extremely important to help support your local fire department, whether it's joining, helping out with fundraisers, just anything helps. Anything goes a long way. So definitely make sure you all do your part. Like you said, stopping in normally, but right now not a good idea. Make that phone call if you have any questions and stuff, or you can even reach out to either one of us here as well. We can definitely do our part and find out the answers for you as well, or even like me or Steven probably can answer some of your questions as well. So definitely what a conversation we just had, man. It's been almost an hour. I think it's been about 50 minutes. So unfortunately, I think it's time to wrap this up. Personally, want to take the time out to thank you again for joining me today. It was great to have you on and shed some light on the fire service and stuff. So definitely thank you for joining as well.
It's been an opportunity. Thank you for having me, and I apologize for any viewers I wanted to watch yesterday. I became unavailable unexpectedly.
Yeah, I've been running too many calls.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
I do appreciate you having me, though.
No, it was always good to get you onto the show, man. It was a great opportunity to just talk about your experience and whatnot, and your thoughts and stuff. Especially now becoming a paid firefighter, it's a whole nother view as opposed to just being a volunteer, for sure. But also want to thank everybody who showed up today. Check us out live as well, and all those who are going to check us out later on YouTube. Where can we find you at, like, social media wise?
I'm on Facebook. Just my name, Steven.
What's your last name? they gotta know the both. Chillin Brubacher.
Yeah, so my Facebook is my full government name, Steven Matthew Brubacher. I think I'm on Instagram. I think it's. Honestly, I don't even know.
It's all good.
If you find my Facebook, you can find my Instagram.
No, yeah, for sure, no doubt.
I'll post it in the comments. I'll post all my stuff in the comments. Right?
Okay, yeah, I can add it to the description at the on for the YouTube and stuff. But be sure to continue to check me out on Twitter at MrNeverChillin_. If you want to hop on Xbox, xNever Chillin, you can party up, play some games with me, chat, whatever. Or again, Facebook, Vic Brubacher. Be sure to, it's just Vic Brubacher. My dad's on Facebook for Victor Brubacher, so I can, but I mean, if you want to talk to him too about firefighting, talk to him as well. But I will continue to produce weekly episodes of this new talk show. Be sure to check us out live if you're not checking us out live already, but it's twitch.tv /Mr. Never Chillin', or check us out on YouTube channel, which is the Chill Zone, where I also have the gaming podcast as well. So be sure to make sure you like and subscribe to that, and any future content I have going on, because we do have a gaming podcast on there where we talk about mainly gaming stuff, but we also have real world topics. We go live every Thursday for that on twitch.tv /lunatic_oblivion with an A. So if you want to check out that as well. But other than that should be everything. And thanks again to everyone. And until next time, peace.